Okay. So I'm very glad today for the last innovator talk of this year to have Marco Maglio, Dr. Marco Maglio, that is CEO and founder of Piratech. So he will tell about his journey, so a little bit about his path and how he ends up in founding Piratech, what they do, and also some opportunities for you as students to make internship and also project thesis. Okay, so thank you, Marco. Let me share the screen and you can.
Okay, so you probably need to move this, right?
No, you just have to click there.
Oh, yeah, but I see my they see that it's covered.
Ah, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, guys.
You can go.
I can go.
Yes.
So I start by telling you a story. So I was more or less your age. I was in the doing my PhD in France, and I was with a lot of students in a resort in the southern Pyrenees, just to have 3 days of formation about soft skills, like the one that are not very important. How can I use this?
So you just with this you point, and with this you move the slide.
Oh, wonderful. And so it was 3 days about soft skill, like how to talk, how to sell, and this it was inside the PhD program. And one of the part of these 3 days, it was 24-hour without stop, creating a fake company and presenting it in front of stakeholder, like there were some banks, some investors, real or fake. And all the students, not all, but the majority of the PhD students were were not very happy to be there, and they were not really engaged in this process, especially in the creation of a fake company. For me, it was instead a huge moment. It was very funny, a lot of fun. I drank a lot of cognac every night, but it's also during the day. And I still remember that I proposed my idea for my team of 8 people about a bin to recognize the garbage and divide it following some rules. And it was completely trashed by the other team members. But at the end of the day, at the end of the 24 hours, I was the one that did the presentation to the stakeholder, not of my idea, but of the idea that we developed together. I went to see the bankmen that were there in order to ask for money, and I did a lot of things in a very proactive way. And the psychologist that were observing a student, he took me apart and she told me, have you ever considered to open a startup? Because you have a style of leading that is very participative, and you seem to be in your own in your best moments. So it was the first time for me that I thought that I could do something on my own, and that I was not looking really for a job. So I'm Marco Maglio. I'm the founder of Piratech, but more than this, I'm a geek. Basically, I'm very similar than I think of what you could be, because probably you are interested in math, science, and basically cool things. And in this presentation, I will try to tell you about me. So I went from being like you, but then I tried to do other jobs, and then now in Piratech, I do what you probably would like as well. So coding or doing things that are really technical. How Piratech started, how Piratech is doing right now, and the possibility that we could have together. In the internship part, I will be very vague, and I will try to leave you all the time to ask questions, because probably it's better. It will be, since we are a few people, we can know each other. So this is the good direction. About me. So I did the university here. I graduated in aerospace engineering. I did my normal 3+2 here. And in this period, I did an Erasmus in Portugal. Then I did my first thesis about a video game of a satellite landing on a planet. It was a control work. Basically, I needed to control the attitude and the altitude of the satellite landing on the planet. But the reality was like developing a video game. It was more like taking Unity and develop a video game. Then in 2007, I finished all my courses, and I did a thesis at the Von Karman Institute in Belgium. It's a NATO institute that does especially computational fluid dynamics. And then I went to Toulouse in France to do my PhD. I spent there 5 years. Actually, I did my PhD for 3 years. Then I went to work, and then I had to come back to defend my thesis. It was about it was a two-phase flow program. So I coded a two-phase flow, so air and water, of a sliding drop. It was a direct numerical simulation. It was more very connected with the physics of the triple point. So where the water is that point where there is water, air, and the solid, and connected with molecular dynamics a little bit. So the other students, when the continuum ends, you go to the molecular. And after this, I went a little bit early. At the end of my PhD, I understood I didn't want to continue. My professor asked me if I wanted to go for postdoc, what all the students can do to continue the academic career. But for me, it was not very easy to think of myself doing 12 hours a day of academic work, because the good professors, the good people also in a job, they don't work 8 hours a day, fortunately. They work, especially when it's needed, much more. And to do that, you have to be willing to do it for real. So I watched my professor staying up like all nights to fix my articles, or we had these long meetings, and I said probably this is not my my vocation. So I ended up trying to work. And my first work was in developing renewable power plants. So I was more like a generalistic engineer. You take a position in the world and you can build whatever, wind, hydro, and or solar. And it's very, very interesting, because at the beginning, every new job teaches you a lot of stuff. To be fair, it's not very complicated to do the preliminary design of this type of things. It's something that is, so the job is much more project managing, and it was not really something that I was liking. I was not liking a lot having to write emails. Samir knows that I still have problems now to write emails, and and then I moved to another position that was the quality engineer in an hydro turbine manufacturer. So this is absolutely something I could not do. So it was checking if the pieces that were arriving to the industry were without defects, trying to fix the process, improve the process of production, and so it was really not something I was liking. I was not, I don't think I was very bad at it, but it was really not something I was enjoying. And still, in a very corporate environment, you have a lot of politics and you have a lot of emails, again, and I wasn't liking that at all. So around that time, I started to work on my first project. I took out from my mind that suggestion of that psychologist at the tutorial, and I started my first company. And soon after I started my first company, my idea was to develop a marketplace for renewable energy power plants. So my first job was to build hydro, wind, and solar. And after that, I say, why don't we get a marketplace where you can go there and raise one? You can go milk the sun. Is a very good one. It's a German company. But why don't you go there and you can basically buy the power plant or invest in a power plant, like we do with the Casa.it, or when you search for an apartment. So it took me, probably I was working on this project from 2 months, and I completely stopped developing the business idea, and I started to code a website and to code an application behind to calculate the price, to calculate the financials of a power plant. And it was absolutely against my interest, because the first interest. Oh, why is pinging, Samir?
No, because people is learning.
Okay. It was a bit against my interest, but I enjoyed coding. I'm really attracted to doing it since when I was an undergraduate student. And so in that process, I realized that coding is a job that is a bit different from the others. It's not like project manager, at least what I think. It's really a craft. This means that it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter where you are. In all the planet Earth, it's the same job. It's like woodworking. You can go in China tomorrow, it happened to me, and you can open your laptop and start to code in a Chinese company. Is the same job everywhere. So this was very appealing, because I was not sure that I wanted to live in France. I wanted to move around the world. And also my startup, I was very lucky because I lost the final of an incubator. So we arrived finally in Amsterdam, or this incubator about energy startups. And in the final, my English was so bad that we lost. And it was very good thing, because I decided to only do coding. And I started as one contractor myself, and big market. So I took all the website of job offers, and I started to do some stats. And I understood that there were more coding jobs in London than in all the rest of Europe. And it's also with the biggest salary, just to mention a little thing. So I worked with a few companies during the years. So I started working with some. The Comic Relief is very big. It's like Peloton. It's like a charity, and it was my first UK company. Then I worked for Shelter, that is another charity. If I can move this pointer, and then a lot of startups. KC is the one that does burgers. Wonderful. Some chicken. Yes. Kentucky Fried Chicken, exactly. In the UK branch, it's very beautiful. You can eat as many sandwiches as you want. Sometimes they throw it away. And but the main company I was for 4 years is Cisco. I don't know. Do you know Cisco? What is? It was once the biggest company of the world. In the .com bubble in 2001, it was the biggest company in the world. Like today is, I think, Amazon or Alibaba, I don't know. And it was a very, very nice place to work. We worked from home all the time. So the first day, like in 2015 or 16, I went to the Cisco office. They gave me a laptop and they say, go home. And I say, I cannot work from home. I have like a 2-year-old kid, I cannot work. But I had to manage to find a way to work from home when nobody worked from home. And but working in this type of like being alone being the professional is very good. There are a lot of upsides. If you work in a big market like London, or if you go, you're data scientist, you can take down some stats, but you will find easily that San Francisco comes before New York, and then it comes London. And these are the places where you earn the most, you do your better life. Then there was something that was not really fit for me. The first thing is that you have to be really healthy. And the included, if you have a family, is better also if your kids are healthy or your wife takes care of your kids, because when you do this type of job, you're you're a contractor. Basically, they pay you a lot of money, like 10,000, 15,000 pounds per month. And they kind of want something in exchange for that. And you have to be really pushing. So you can earn a lot of money, but there are some downsides. You have to love a lot of stress and love loneliness, because you are the hustle that comes to the company, the one that is paid double of the others. Nobody likes contractor too much. So it was something that I was liking, especially the morning part. And but really the biggest problem was that I was not part of anything. And also the year that I made the most of my money, I was destroyed. I was really, I wanted to take 1 month of vacation, but it's like a drug. If you earn a lot of money, and you work a lot for that, it's difficult to stop. And so I thought also that my time was limited. And if you're selling your time, actually, some people say that it's not really a company. Usually, a company sells not the founder time, but the employee's time, or use the time of the employees to build the product. And so I tried to do a big jump and to hire some people. This is when I was in the UK. So I spent the majority of my year after the PhD in the UK, and I came back in Italy 3 or 4 years ago. It was much more easy to hire in Italy than in the UK for me, because I know a lot of people in here. I know especially a lot of professionals, and also because there are a lot of good students, and because the market, the work market is not that great. So you actually are more available than other countries. Now we are 14, and we specialize in selling for UK and Swiss companies. Later, I will tell you what do we sell. Actually, it's coding, sell coding. If you know how to code, probably you can work for us. So this is a picture of the guys that we were doing 2 days in Venice. And clearly this girl doesn't have the legs because it was PowerPointed here. So you see, it's not, she just left. So she wanted to be in the picture. These are some of the guys. And we are from many countries. So we speak only English in the company. And the majority of us is still from Italy. We are probably 5 or 6. I don't know, but then we have someone from Egypt, Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, Morocco, Iran, Spain, Bulgaria, and the UK. And we don't work in a real office. We never meet, apart in Venice. And we work on Gather. That is an application that Samir showed me a lot of years ago.
So during COVID.
During COVID, yes.
I was trying my students to use it, but they don't. He
So,
wasn't more successful than me.
Yes, it's incredible because I worked for Cisco. I worked almost 4 years remotely without any application. And this was this problem that people were completely zooming out and were not seeing them. You were in a company with, you have to imagine 80,000 people, and you were alone. You were not seeing anybody. So I was browsing like the hierarchical profile of all the people at Cisco just to know who to meet or who to contact. but in reality, it's you're pretty much alone. So instead, at the beginning, my first employee was this guy, Lucio, and I proposed him, and instead of staying there just when we had to meet, he started to stay there. So there's no obligation. We have Slack, we chat with each other. But in reality, if right now, I think they are broadcasting this this event there, and so they are staying there watching. And we work with this, and it's one of the things that the employees love most. I often don't stay there all day because I don't want to be pushy. We made the big error to give this thing to our clients sometime, and we have some clients that basically are occupying our gather. We're finding some solution. We have another gather for escaping. So what do? We do coding, meaning algorithms, and meaning we try to solve coding problems. So the main thing that we do is for sure the first two, platform and cloud. So this means I will have a few examples, but then if you have questions, I can go more in depth. But we do, we are building a bank, for example, for an American company, is like those banks that you use like Revolut or I don't know what's used in Italy, Monzo.
Revolut is more famous.
Revolut, okay. So these are called the new bank. This means that you don't do the banking layer. There is a company that does banking as a service. And so instead of creating all the software, also the hardware in order to store cards and accounting, all these things, you basically use API to interact with that, as you would do with Google for doing something with Google. We are very good at cloud, especially, so there are 3 clouds that matter. And I encourage you to open an account in all 3 and try to experiment, because there is a very, very steep learning curve. But there is AWS, Azure, and Google. And for what you study, especially AI and machine learning, for all the rest, I think that AWS is better for platform, for I would say Web3 or doesn't matter, but for AI and for machine learning, the 3 are very good competitors. There's not the winner. And for some things, Azure is much better. For some other thing, Google, for some other AWS. We're very good at AWS, and if someone is good at cloud, it means that they code the cloud. You don't go there and click the buttons, but you basically write a script that it creates a universe of microservices, or it creates you all the database from scratch, or it does the data migration, so that tomorrow with that simple script, you can change the database and click a button and it all fires up alone. I'm describing it a bit more, I mean, it's not that easy sometimes, and sometimes you have to click a button, but we don't say it. We do a bit of Web3, we experiment a lot on this. I'm an old fan of Bitcoin, and so now I don't have to say it loud, right? So we do like NFT and this thing, we do especially toy project, and eventually sometime we evaluate to enter some consultancy. We do real time, so this is a very interesting part for me. So it's when an application is data intensive. It can be data intensive for many reasons. It's very interesting because it's where there is the edge. Even Twitter is data intensive. Because when Cristiano Ronaldo shares his tweet, it has to appear in the timeline of like 50 million people in 5 seconds. And this is a very beautiful engineering problem. We do UX studies. This is something that we're starting to do from very little time, because we were always coming after the UX has happened, and UX is when you mock up an application from end to end, and you start to play a journey with your client, trying to understand what they want to achieve. Often they don't want what they think they want, and often there are no clients for what they think they want. So it's very difficult if you give to the engineers or to the, when I say engineers, I mean everybody that code in an Anglo-Saxon way. Sorry, guys. But in my company, the majority is from physics, so I'm a friend. And then we do AI. So this is we have a lot of people that comes, probably 4 or 5 that comes from this course, and we often consult with the AI company, doing a joint venture where a company is very specialized in NLP, for example, and they gave us all the other layers to us. And sometimes in the example, I will show some company later that has some AI algorithms. We try to do internal project because we have 2 souls. That is, one is consulting to grow a team of developers that are good at coding. And the other soul is to try to build our own application. And with this example, we do some AI, and we are experimenting. To be fair, we're not there yet. So some example. This is I did very few example because so we had a client that had some algorithm. So actually it was one client of mine in 2014, one of the first, an hedge fund in Geneva, that were developing behavioral, so algorithms of trading based on behavioral analysis. So they were trying to get some data, and then I don't know how it worked because I was not working on that side, but a few years after, they contacted me back to build an application that is basically a risk manager. And you do not see this because I cannot show you, but there is a scenario part here where you basically play your portfolio under different risk scenarios. And basically, the most simple scenario is historical. If you want to play our portfolio did in the crisis of 2007, you just take the change in percentage and you put it into now. So this, of course, is very limited, but it is the most simple. We did this study because it was impossible to talk with this client. He didn't know absolutely, he was jumping from one thing to the other. But we basically come down 2 weeks and drew a complete app that was showing his potential, basically. This is another thing that I cannot show you much, but this is a Swiss startup that basically is developing a way to graphically create an experiment on big data, very, very big data databases. So they are completely based in Azure, because I think Microsoft put some money. And their idea is to use some Microsoft data model that I don't really understand, is the Hypercube, where every big database is defined by a cube, by some entities, and basically graphically creating this in order to generate a big data database that we then ingest all the data that often is stored in some storage, like an S3 bucket or some very big file. And so we are building the complete front-end interface. In particular, I was consulting myself at the beginning for this, and with this part that is actually a copy of Miro. I don't know if you ever used Miro. You should start now. Best application ever. That's what I say that is for drawing diagrams. It's actually for everything. Miro is the best application. Then another example of this channeling. Okay. Okay. This is another app we're really, I'm really proud of, and I didn't do much. So I'm very proud that two young engineers, one is an informatic from Milan, and the other is a physicist, of course, from here. So this application is a Swiss trading company. They don't want to use any, as their back office, they don't want to use any commercial product. They have an AI algorithm to trade in Forex. So they were born as a betting company for sports. And then they started to do Forex, basically betting, it's the same thing. But they have an algorithm that apparently is making a lot of money. And now they wanted to, since they got a lot of funds, they wanted to build their own backend that basically was using the data in a way that was making more easy some operation of tweaking. Every week they train a model, an AI model with a lot of agents that are proposing trades, and then they use it. We come when we have thousands and thousands of signals per second, and we come at the moment that we ingest all this data, and we have to make it basically real time in an application. So it's a very beautiful problem. It's a lot of fun. It's you have to think if you have to scale horizontally, vertically, and then you have to think how to test if this data is correct, or you're basically plotting crap, or what is your latency about when the first trade was executed and when the trade is available in the platform. Is working and is doing very well. So we have we did two company I spoke about. We have like an indefinite contract. So it's a contract that how to renew is very long. We're working for them for years. And so I don't want to talk too much. I would like to know you. We have a list of internship that are available. We are interested in doing something in natural language processing, basically being able to produce from some data a technical document that seems like written from a human, and that is not so, I would say, dumb. It is in a pipeline of another job that we are trying to put in an internship, that is to find the best water reservoir in a 3D terrain. So basically by having a random 3D terrain, be able to guess which is the best reservoir and give it scores, and being able to basically analyze all the surface of the Earth. We have already done this code in a crude way, and we are talking with some investors for an idea that we have. And now we want to put a lot of some students in order to make it a bit more robust. We then we would like to specialize maybe someone in transportation problems. With Samir, we work together in a startup that is called Too Busy. We won the startup in Veneto last year, 2 years ago. Oh, it's a long time. So we have that available. In reality, we are doing another study on the performance of the cloud for doing intensive calculation. So how you could build a supercomputer in a commercial cloud, not in a supercomputer. So it's high performance in AWS, Google, and Amazon. And on the cloud side, we have other job like trying to profile their service. So, for example, taking different problems of AI, finding the same solution in different clouds and trying to understand which is the best in terms of cost, mainly, and also maybe other things. Thank you. And if you have any question, I'm here to answer you.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Okay, so now it's there is time for informal questions, curiosity, anything that you want to know about